Cindy itu siapa Cindy? Kalau kayak gini bayar nggak ya? Hah? Enggak, Mbak, jadi notes
Selamat datang Bapak Ibu. Mohon partisipan untuk namanya ya, jangan disingkat.
Pak Agus.
Yep.
Sudah jam 2, Pak.
Okay.
Kita mulai saja ya.
Yeah. Okay, can we start now? Yeah, please, Ibu Dewi or other committee.
Let me know when I have to start.
Yes.
Bu Lani boleh, Bu? Suaranya, Bu.
Mulai ya, bentar
Suara
ya.
Ibu sepertinya kecil, Bu. Bagusan yang tadi, Bu.
Oh, okay. So without the ini, sebentar. Saya sini dulu bentar. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better.
Oke, bentar ya. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining our workshop session during this Ramadan month. A collaboration event among the Hotel School of Australia, Sekolah Tinggi Pariwisata Trisakti, and AECC Global, an internationally recognized education consultancy with a global footprint in 9 countries so far. I would like to thank Bapak Agus Triadi as the head of Hospitality Department, Bapak Angkoso Soekadari as the Chief Operating Officer, and Ibu Triana Rosalina Dewi from the Hospitality Department at STP Trisakti for the opportunity in this collaboration. I would also like to thank Tim Rudling, who is the head of International Sales, the Hotel School in Australia, and Doni Fernianto, who happens to be an alumni of STP Trisakti in 2005, ya, Pak Doni, as well as the representative manager of the Hotel School in Indonesia, based in Jakarta, for facilitating the workshop as well. Before going any further, I would like to invite Bapak Agus Triadi as the head of Hospitality Department to open the workshop session with his welcoming remarks. The mic is yours, Pak Agus.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Lani. Good afternoon, everyone. Wherever you are, my name is Agus Triadi as a head of Hotel Department, Trisakti School of Tourism. It's great to see you all. We thank you for being with us this afternoon. This is our third webinar series with the big title is Combating COVID-19. So the big topic is discussing the progress of the hotel industry. And today our topic related with the marketing strategy in COVID-19 pandemic. On behalf of Trisakti School of Tourism Management, I would like to thank you to Mr. Tim Rudling and team, Ibu Lani, and also Mr. Dodi from the Hotel School Australia, and also our partner maybe from the Indonesian Hotel and Restaurant Association, Province Papua, Mr. Sahril, and also the chairman of the Indonesian Hotel General Manager Association, Mr. Arya Pering, but I don't think so is be here or not. But also our speakers, Mr. Angkoso, welcome, Pak Angkoso. Nice to meet you again. Is also one of founder of Indonesian Hotel General Manager Association. Yes, also our alumni. Currently is a chief operating officer in Etra Hospitality, I think. And also Mr. Tim Rudling, the head of international sales of the hotel school. We trying to make it something with this pandemic, because we understand it's very heavy for our life. We have, because COVID-19 have impact in your business, also your social life, and we don't know when this pandemic will be stopped. But I believe we have to fight, we have to survive, work together. So once again, to all speakers, and also I hope this seminar has given all participants some amazing idea in marketing strategy, because your great speech. On behalf of Trisakti School of Management, this webinar obviously I stated was open. But before we start, I think I have to present some, I have to give you something information. Yeah, Ibu, please, next slide. Yeah, this is the total background of the total participant who has been registered. The total is 250 participants, not only from student, lecturer, but also owner, general manager, hotel manager, supervisor level, manager level, and also the student. So this is the total participant. And next slide, please. And this is ratio. So it's we compare hotelier, lecturer, and student. So it means it's very interesting. Thank you so much for supporting. And next slide, please. Yeah, don't forget, please follow our next webinar on 19th this May. Yeah, the topic is employment and termination in COVID-19 pandemic. Make sure your has been registered, because this is free, and also we will get a certificate. Next slide, Bu. Yeah, this is just information about Trisakti School of Management, because we have 2 programs, academic and vocational program. But in the future, we have maybe next year's we have a doctoral degree program coming soon, because I don't know, should be open this July or August, but COVID-19, this is the reason why. And we have a master degree and also bachelor degree, and vocational program. We have hotel management and travel management. Next slide. And we have also the typical program, like regular executive class, international program at fund level. And Mr. Tim, maybe in the future we have to collaboration because we have international program, so student can study also in Australia. So it is benefit for our student and your side also. And next book. Yeah, during this COVID-19, we have a scholarship. Yeah, for the new semesters. Yeah, for bachelor degree program or vocational program. But you can follow the link from STPT. And also this is the master degree program. And next. Yeah, test online. Yeah, you can join this Saturday. Yeah, and we can also provide live consultation via Zoom every not every days, Senin, Rabu, Jumat. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's all, Ibu Lani. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Pa Agus, for the opening remarks.
Yeah.
Once again, welcome to all participants from all over Indonesia. Today's agenda will be 2 sessions. The first session will be delivered by Tim Rudling from the hotel school to talk about a very exciting topic on how to create your online personal branding. And session 2 will be delivered by Pak Angkoso Soekadari, who will also be talking about marketing 101 in hotel. Question and answer can be asked at the end of each session by typing it at the Q&A box for us to read. I would like to remind you once again, on registering, please put your full name and email address accordingly so that the certificate later on can be written as per your full name. Now, with the limited of time provided and without further ado, I would like to pass on the mic to you, Tim, for you to introduce yourself as well as to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lani, and a very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'll just share my screen with you. Oops, 1 second. Okay. So the topic of my presentation today is around creating a personal brand. So I guess this will be probably most interesting for the students who are with us today. I'm talking about how you can market yourself. So both of the speakers today are talking about marketing, but in slightly different areas. I thought I'd start by sharing a little bit about my personal brand and who I am. So my name is Tim. I'm from Perth in Western Australia. I have 15 years industry experience. So my industry experience is working for some of the top hotel management schools across Switzerland, Cyprus and Australia. I'm very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about the hotel and tourism sector. And I'm very passionate about helping the next generation of future hoteliers to achieve their goals in this industry. I am a proud father of 2 lovely girls and the #1 supporter of Tottenham Hotspur. That's my favourite English football team. Please do not hold that against me. I wanted to start off today's session by talking a little bit about what's happening in the hotel and tourism sector in Australia right now. So pre-COVID-19, we were experiencing an unprecedented level of growth. And there was in fact a real shortage of skilled labour in Australia to fill the number of new positions which were being created. Then COVID-19 hit and it has affected our industry in a very significant way, as it has with a lot of industries. I'll explain later sort of the hotel school and how we work, but essentially part of who we are is we're a major hotel investor. So we're obviously very interested in the roadmap recovery. And just wanted to explain a little bit about what's going to happen in the industry in Australia over the next 3 to 6 to 12 months. So what we're going to see by the end of June is our interstate borders open up. So that's going to bring in the first wave of the recovery for the industry. We will be open for domestic tourism, domestic business travel, and this is going to lead to an amazing opportunity for people to get back into the industry. We will then have some select international borders open up. At the moment, the Prime Minister is talking about maybe July to open the border with New Zealand, which will bring in limited international tourism. So this will be the second wave of the recovery. The reason that I wanted to tell you this is sort of to give a message of hope that yes, we are being affected. Yes, our industry has been affected, but the road to recovery is, for Australia, certainly quicker than we sort of first anticipated. It will take some time for the industry to get back to the level that it was, but at least we are starting to see the early signs of recovery, which is a very positive thing. So in my short webinar today, I wanted to touch on a few things. First of all, who is the hotel school? So why am I here to talk to you? And then to talk a little bit about personal brands. So why are they important? And then talk a little bit about creating your own online brand. So how are you going to market yourself to future employers? So who are we? The Hotel School is a unique partnership between industry and education. So we're 50% owned by Southern Cross University and 50% owned by Malphur Australia. Malphur Australia is probably not a brand that you've heard of. Some of you in the industry might know Malphur, but Malphur is a major hotel investor. So we don't spend a significant amount of time or resources in branding Malphur. What we do is spend time on helping to develop those brands within our portfolio. So Malphur Properties, let me show you a few of the hotels that we own in Australia and globally. We own the Intercontinental Sydney, there in Circular Quay. That's where our school started. We own Intercontinental Hayman Island, which has just reopened last year. We own Intercontinental Sanctuary Cove on the Gold Coast, big marina and golf course resort. We own Bimbadgin Winery, which is very famous for some big events. We have a couple of properties in the ski slopes of Australia. Then we own the London Marriott Hotel Grosvenor Square. We own a Sofitel Paris. We own the Sofitel in the Philippines, right there on Manila Bay. And we own a couple of properties in Hong Kong. We own the Novotel Century Hong Kong, and we own the Ibis North Point Hong Kong. So we understand a little bit about branding, and we use our expertise from the industry to help teach our students. So some of the slides that I'm going to share with you are from this particular unit, Introduction to Professional Practice, which won an award from the Australian government for work integrated learning. So it's about preparing our students for the industry, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. So your personal brand. Personal branding is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands. When we think about the digital age and how people can present themselves, we have a really unique opportunity these days to be far more visible than we were going back 10, 15 years ago before social media. So there's an opportunity for people to brand themselves, to create an image, to create a perception amongst employers, amongst colleagues, amongst industry professionals. So we put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into personal branding now. The concept of brand, if we take a step back and think about branding in a more generic sense, the concept of brand is a name, term, sign or symbol that identifies the maker or seller of the product. And branding is really important in a business sense. There's a lot of value in brand. So a brand name helps an organisation differentiate itself from the competition. The brand has a number of attributes and qualities. And one of the prime examples that we use to showcase the value of a brand is with a very generic product like water. If we think about water, here we have essentially two very similar products, okay? There will be claims about the origins of the water, but at the end of the day, both products are water and are used to hydrate you and to quench your thirst when you are thirsty. There is power in the brand. So there's a lot of prestige. There is a sense of luxury around brands like Perrier, like Evian. And people are prepared to pay significantly more, 4 or 5 times the price of a generic water product, which has very little branding and very little value associated with the brand. People are prepared to pay, 400, 500% more to have a very, very similar product with a different brand. Okay, so this is a classic example. We can also look at it in terms of cars, for example. You can have very similar products with cars, and the badge on that car will determine the value because there is an inherent value associated with a particular brand. So we need to think about this when we think about what our brand is. What do you want to be known for? Where is your value? And this is what we want to sort of discuss a little bit today. Brands are valuable, okay? You'll all know these brands here on this spreadsheet. This is by Interbrand, and it's a global ranking of brands in last year, 2019. So you can see the associated value in US dollars of the brand, right? So you can see here that brands are very important from a business sense. A brand has an inherent value, and it is an indicator as well for investors. People will invest in a brand. You can see here that the #1 brand by value last year was Apple, which was up about 9% from 2018 and worth an enormous amount of money. So all of these companies put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of thought into their branding. Brands also develop as well over time. So when you think about your personal brand, you don't just establish a brand, do the work and put that in place and then leave it, but your brand should develop over time. As you gain more experience, as you gain more skills, attributes, you need to look at how you're positioning yourself in your online presence and adapt and change as we go along. We can see here that classic brands like Coca-Cola, we'll take that as an example here. Coca-Cola, the brand has lost value, and the brand has been losing value for a little bit of time because it's changed. The public perception of that brand has changed. Coca-Cola used to be a fun, luxury, outdoor. There were lots of images of young, fit people. But the world changed and we understood that there is a lot of sugar in Coca-Cola, and people started to become more health conscious, and that affected the brand. So they were tried to switch and reposition, and they've done things like bring in Diet Coke in the 90s, and then there was Coke Zero, and then they brought in funny coloured water drinks and things like that to try and appeal to more health conscious, but that brand has still lost a bit of value. So again, this is just showing the importance of the brand. Again, all of these brands are instantly recognisable. Now, I'm using these as an example here. I don't for 1 second think that one of you, hopefully, one of you will have a brand which is as recognisable as Nike. I don't have a brand which is as recognisable as Nike. I'd love it if I did. But what I wanted to talk about here was recognition of those brands. So when people see you, when they see your brand online, what do they think of? So I like to think that when people see my brand online through a variety of social media platforms, that they think of education, they think of hotel management, and they think of somebody with experience in global markets. When somebody sees Nike, they think of, well, I think of Michael Jordan when I see Nike, but they think of track and field, they think of fashion, they think of American culture in the 90s. When we see a brand like Toyota, I think of reliability, of quality build. So all of these brands have attributes, and there's a lot of work that these companies do in building these brands, in helping us to perceive these brands in a certain way. And we need to do this on a smaller scale with ourselves. This is a brand prism that Nike created. Now, a company like Nike would spend millions and millions of dollars each year on their brands. I'm not suggesting that you guys go out and do the same, but I am just suggesting that you think about how you portray yourself. So they look at things like the personality, culture, user self-image, reflected user, relationship, physique. So there's a lot of thought that goes behind brands. And I want you guys to just start to think about how you position yourselves. So a personal brand, as we discussed, is the process by which we market ourselves to others. It's about who you are and what you want to be known for. It's not just for celebrities. So that's an important point. People think, well, you know, why am I going to go to the effort of branding myself? Well, we're not talking about to the same extent, but I can tell you how important it is to have an online presence and a professional online presence. We'll talk about this a little bit later on, but the first thing that I do as an employer is when I receive applications, I'll look through the CVs and I will make a short list. I will go and look at those people to see who they know, their experience. You can sort of make assumptions about the personality of somebody through their social media accounts. So it's important that you at least consider this and put some thought into it. The next point is really important for me. Perception is reality. It doesn't matter what you are in a lot of ways. If somebody doesn't perceive you in that way, they're not going to find out. So the perception that others have is their reality of who you are. So you need to help shape that perception. This is what personal branding can help to do. It can help them to form a perception of you, which will give you the opportunity to have an interview, right? What we're trying to do through this process is we are creating a brand, we are marketing ourselves, and then we want to have the opportunity to sit down and pitch ourselves in a sales pitch, and that's the interview, right? So to do that, we need to market ourselves effectively to get the opportunity face-to-face to pitch what we can offer, which is in the interview process. So everyone that you interact with forms a perception of you. I use the example, I have an amazing staff member who's very talented, knows so much about the industry, probably knows more than I do, and probably could have my job. But we were sat in a meeting recently and her face was all screwed up, and I was looking at her on this Zoom, and my perception was that she was unhappy and didn't want to be there, or that something was wrong. So after the meeting, I called her and I had a conversation with her, and I said, you know, what was wrong? What happened in that meeting? And what she told me was that, no, that's just my thinking face. I said, but that's not what that's not what my perception was, and that's not what other people's perception was. So we need to really think about that perception is reality. So personal brand is no different. Now, this is not a personal brand that I in any way endorse, but again, it's to show you the value of the brand. So one of the Kardashians has a following of 168 million people. My wife is included in one of those, and she promotes products online and gets huge endorsement fees for this, like millions and millions of dollars for endorsing a single product. So she's created this perception of who she is, who we see of her online and through her personal brand might not be the real person, probably isn't, but she's created this brand and this perception. So again, we need to think about that. Here we've got some really famous personal brands, and they're personal brands across a number of different industries. We have a personal brand like Steve Jobs as an innovator, as a leader in technology, as a marketing guru in a lot of ways, and a perfectionist. Michael Jordan as a dominant athlete, as a person who sparked a cultural revolution in a number of ways. And these brands can also align with each other. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about LinkedIn shortly, but you can align your brand with other brands to increase the value of it. So Nike, for example, signed Michael Jordan in his rookie year. Michael Jordan did not want to sign with Nike, and Nike were a fairly small company by that stage. Michael Jordan has always said that he wanted to sign with Adidas. That was who he wanted to have his shoe deal with. He didn't even want to go to the meeting with Nike, but his parents forced him to. They aligned their brands together, and now Air Jordans are worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. He's made billions of dollars out of that shoe deal, and Nike have made billions of dollars. So they aligned their brands together, and it created more value. So what I want you to think about when you're creating your own brand is what can only you do, okay? What is unique about you? You need to create what we call a unique value proposition. So why should someone choose you? Why should an employer want to talk to you? The unique value proposition is a promise of value to be delivered by you. So what can you deliver that somebody else can't? So if there is 200 people going for a job interview, why should that employer talk to you? Why should they speak to you? It's the primary reason a company should hire you. And this is really, really important, because what we're going to see post-COVID is increased competition for jobs. Yeah. So we need to think of a way to distinguish ourselves from the competition. What we need to do for that is create our personal brand. I like this quote from Oscar Wilde: "Be yourself because everybody else is taken." You can't be me. I can't be you. Only you can be you. So be yourself. Don't try and imitate somebody else. It's fine to have role models. It's fine to have people who are mentors, or you aspire to have a career like somebody, but you need to be yourself, okay? And you need to be consistent with your message and with your brand. So what I mean by that is that you need to think about how you're going to portray yourself, and then you need to stay on message, okay? Stay on brand. If your brand is as a conservative, professional, guest service liaison or front office manager, that's great. Have that, but then make sure that that's your message. Make sure that that's your brand. And then don't all of a sudden post a wild party, a photo of you at a wild party, out of control, because that doesn't fit on brand. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a second. So you need to build your brand. So what I'm suggesting is that your brand, as I mentioned earlier, you don't create a brand and leave it. This is something that you work on and develop all throughout your career. So your brand will help people to remember you. It helps you to manage your reputation, articulate your value. It helps you to influence your broader stakeholders, and it helps you to proactively manage your profile. So you will get to a stage where you have a brand and you have an identity, and people start to understand who you are, to be familiar with you, and your reputation can then precede you, which means that a lot of the hard work is done. So for example, when I was earlier on in my career and I came in to manage a team of 20 staff, no one knew who I was because I didn't really have any awareness around my personal brand. So I had to start from scratch. People were very skeptical of who I was because I was young. I had to win them over. I had to build trust. I had to develop loyalty. I had to foster a team culture that I wanted. When I joined the hotel school about 16 months ago, people already knew who I was in the industry. I already had a brand and I already had a reputation, and that made my job of coming in as a leader of the team a lot easier. So this is what you need to work towards. This is for the students. Dress to success. All of you experienced hoteliers in the audience today will know this and know this very well. But in our industry, you need to be professionally dressed. You need to be professionally groomed. Don't have a beard like I do. That's not the professional look. But you need to dress for success. Portray who you want to be. I still remember the first meeting I had with one of our students when I went to the hotel school. On the first day, I saw this kid from Hong Kong, and he was dressed immaculately. He had the waistcoat, he had the tie clip, the pocket square, and he looked like $1 million. And I said, this kid's going to go places. I met him 16 months ago when I first started at the hotel school, and he is now working in a management position at Hayman Island Resort, and he's done amazingly well for himself. And it's not just because of the way that he dressed, but that's part of it. So dress to success. This is just a nice diagram to show you personal brand. So this is the intersection, what you do and say and how people feel, and where they overlap, that's your brand. Okay, so we need to be mindful of that. It's not everything that you do and say, it's not everything about how people feel about you. It's where the two intersect that your personal brand exists. Remember, perception is reality. Okay, online brand building. Employers are going to look at your online presence, including all of your social media. I cannot stress this enough that you need to have, you need to do an audit. So for the students, when you're going out there and you're going to go for your first job, do an audit of your social media. Make sure that you have no incriminating photos on your Facebook, on your Instagram. You need to clean your social media. If you have to, you can have a private account which your friends and you can share, and you can share anything you want on there, and then have a public profile which employers can see. But make sure that there's still some content on there. So employers do look at that, and that's something that you need to be mindful of. LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools in terms of finding a job. LinkedIn is how I got approached and offered this job that I have now. This is an example here, Keith Barr, CEO at Intercon, IHG. This is his profile. Professional picture, nice background. I can tell you with a professional looking photo, the statistics show that you're about 12 times more likely to have your profile seen by an employer. So that's really important. Make sure that you have a professional photo, maybe you in your uniform for the students, or you in a hotel uniform, something that's professional that indicates who you are. And then you need to think about your connections, right? You need to make meaningful connections. Your connections show an employer who you are. So if you looked me up on LinkedIn, I have 700 and something connections on there. They're all from the hotel industry or from the education industry, and in most of the key markets that I've worked in across the world. So your connections need to be meaningful because they are a source of information. They help employers to find you. They help to build aspects of your brand as well. So this is really important. Publish on LinkedIn. Don't just have a LinkedIn account and sit there and be silent. You need to publish on LinkedIn. You need to comment on people's posts. You need to share. You will see a massive spike. So the good thing about LinkedIn as a tool is that you get some analytics on how many people have viewed your profile, on things like that. So you will see, for example, I went for a few months without publishing anything. My page views were right down. I published something and then I saw a massive spike, about a 400% spike in page views, just by simply posting something. So again, posting something can help to develop your brand. It shows that you're a thought leader. It shows what your interests are. And we need to think about the content that we're publishing on a platform like LinkedIn. We don't use it the same way that you use Instagram or Facebook. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform, and this is what you should be using it for. Don't post about a fantastic dinner that you had last Friday. That's not the sort of appropriate content that we publish on LinkedIn. That's a little snippet of some of the personal branding stuff that we do. I'm conscious of time. I think I've got a few minutes left. I'll just run you through quickly the hotel school advantage. Briefly about us, we are Australia's oldest hotel school. We were established in 1989. We have 3 campuses around Australia: Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. We offer paid internships in our undergraduate and postgraduate programs. We have a global community composed of 35 different nationalities, about 50% international students and 50% domestic students. We have unique industry connections. As I said, we are a major hotel investor in Australia and internationally, and we offer students a public university degree from Southern Cross University. We also offer a Swiss qualification from HTMI, which is a top 20 ranked school in Switzerland. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here. I hope that there's some value in what I've just presented, and I'd like to go over to Lily.
Thank you, Tim. So it is personal branding is very important for us. It's not only for celebrities, as what Tim said. Perception is a reality, and we really need to work around how everyone's perception of us. And our branding should be consistent as well. So Tim, there are quite few questions which I can read for you. The first questions will be from Pak Ruspendi from University of Dianapura. He has two questions. One, in this pandemic COVID-19, what we can do for making our brand, especially hotel. And then when we talk about segmenting, targeting, and positioning, positioning is very difficult for me. How can I position my resto product in the brain of the customers?
Interesting questions. Thank you very much for those. So first of all, during COVID-19, in terms of branding, there's a few things that we can do. There's a few things that we've done. Maybe I can share our experience as a hotel investor. One of the things that we did was to brand ourselves as a compassionate investor. So we were actually one of the hotels, the Intercontinental in Sydney was one of the hotels that we opened up to international travellers who came back in, had to go through a mandatory 14-day quarantine period. So we offered that service to the Australian government. It was not a revenue decision, but it was around assisting our branding. So we were in the news quite a lot. So we got a lot of free publicity around that because we'd offered that free service and we were seen as being compassionate. So there's things that you can do. The other thing that we're trying to do is position ourselves as a thought leader. Producing research and papers around, interesting articles around what happens post-COVID, what the industry is going to look like, what are the new trends going to be. So we're trying to establish ourselves as a thought leader. So there's a couple of ideas that you can sort of look at to establish yourself and position your brand in this particular time. The second question in terms of segmenting and positioning yourselves for the consumers, it's a difficult thing, and specifically if we look at an F&B operation, there's a few things that we've done as well. Again, just to relate it back to our organisation, Australia was fortunate enough we were still allowed to maintain our F&B operations, but not for dine-in. So we had to convert some really high-end restaurants that we had in some of our hotels. We converted them to takeaway businesses, which was something that would not have even crossed our radar 3 months ago. We would not have even considered that. But we were able to be agile and adapt quite quickly. And then we are reaching out to new customers. So what we're doing is we're using this time during COVID-19 to reach a different market. So we've deliberately pulled back our price point. So we were quite a luxury high-end. For example, we have a steak restaurant in the Intercon in Sydney, which is pretty expensive, pretty high-level fine dining. But we've pulled back and offered specials to reach a different demographic, to reach a different segment of the market and expose them to what we do during this particular time, with the hope that they'll fall in love with our product and what we offer, and then come back and be consumers with us afterwards. So there's different ways that you can approach it, but that's just a little bit of experience of what we're doing.
Okay, Bu, we still have about 9 questions. The second one is from Miss Emanina. According to the topic, we can say that personal branding is for everyone, despite of the background or else. But for people who have introvert character, how can we do that?
I think personal branding is probably more important for people who have an introvert character. You can be introverted, but still portray yourself or market yourself in a certain way online. This is the best thing about a personal brand, is for those people who maybe in a networking situation, they feel uncomfortable and shy and they don't like to do that. What they can do is online, you can portray a different persona. You can build a different brand. At the end of the day, you're still going to have an interview. You're still going to have to talk to people, but you can certainly portray yourself in a certain way. So you can be introverted, but still publish on LinkedIn, still share ideas or things that are relevant to your industry. So I think that developing a personal brand is even more important. And you can do that in the online space while still being an introvert. And that can really help to open the doors and then get you in front of people to hopefully start a successful career.
Thank you, Tim. Next, from Christiawan. Is the personal branding of an employee can influence a corporate branding where he or she works, or there is no relationship at all between the personal branding and corporate branding?
It's a great question. Thank you. I do believe that there is a correlation between the corporate branding and the personal branding. If you are an employee of the Ritz-Carlton, that has certain connotations towards your personal brand. My personal brand is now affected because I am working for the hotel school. So yes, there is a direct correlation. And again, like I used the example of Michael Jordan and Nike, by attaching your brand to a more well-known corporate brand, you can certainly build the awareness and change the perception of people.
Okay, next one from Ibu Nutri Rahayu. How should teachers create professional branding in social media?
Sorry, you just cut out there for a second. Can you repeat that, please, Lani?
Okay. How should teachers create professional branding in social media? And how can we teach personal branding to hospitality students?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So you can create your own personal branding. Again, as a teacher, you can be a thought leader. So sharing articles, sharing news about hospitality industry positions you as a thought leader. It positions you as a subject matter expert. So certainly use your social media platforms to share interesting news, trends, interesting data, things like that. So follow other people who share this, follow organizations that share this information, do a lot of research, and then choose what you want to post and share through your own social media accounts. In terms of how you can teach hospitality students, I think that it's important that hospitality students are made aware of this from the very beginning. They want to start curating their personal brand. So we can teach them how to use social media effectively. We can teach them tips on LinkedIn. There's little short courses that you can subscribe to and get your students to do on how to manage a LinkedIn profile and use that as an effective tool to create a brand. So I would highly encourage you as a teacher to look at that because it is going to be really, really important. As I said, I know as an employer myself, when I'm hiring staff, I do look at social media accounts. That's the first thing that we do. When we're shortlisted, we look through the CV and then we make a bit more research by going into social media accounts. So it's really important that students are aware of that and are curating and developing their brand from a young age.
Okay, next one from Ibu Filma. When we should change our brand and how to rebrand without losing our customers?
That's a good question. So from a corporate perspective, a rebrand is a really big deal. If your brand is successful and if you have traction with your brand, if you have a loyal customer base, then maybe a full rebrand is not the right thing to do. Maybe you need to look at doing a bit of a brand refresh. And there's a number of different ways that you can do that. You can bring in consultants to help you, or if you want to do it in-house, you need to look at what you want your brand to say about your organization, what you want. There has to be a reason that you want to change or refresh your brand. There has to be a new message. There has to be, you want to adapt your business in some way. So you need to think about your business goals, your objectives, and then you can mold your brand to fit those objectives, to fit those goals.
Okay, next one. How we can avoid exaggeration on our personal branding? Maybe you can share some experiences.
Yeah, sure. Yes, this is a really good point. Thank you for that question. Your personal branding needs to be truthful, okay? I can give you a very recent example. I was looking to hire somebody, and I looked at this resume and it looked amazing. The personal brand was incredible. I thought, wow, I'd be very lucky to have this person. I looked on their LinkedIn profile and their social media, and it seemed to match with what they were saying in their CV. When I had a conversation with this person, I of course had an interview with them, but when I had a conversation with them, it became apparent very, very quickly that they had been slightly untruthful about their experience and their knowledge, and the way that they spoke about things that someone with their experience should have known just didn't add up. If your branding is exaggerated or untruthful, it may help you to get that sales pitch, it may help you to get the interview, but it will actually damage your brand long term, because people will remember that, they'll remember you, and not for a good reason. So we need to make sure that how we position ourselves is truthful. In saying that, you don't have to share your weaknesses. What you want to do is look at yourself, be objective, look at yourself and say, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And then push your brand around your strengths.
The answer relates to the next question from Ibu Ana Isabella. I think my question is, by creating our brand identity, what are the few important points that we should take note of?
So that depends on you and your strengths. So this is what I always encourage people to do, is to sit down and to look at, okay, who am I? And sometimes it's hard to be self-critical, right? Or it depends on who you are and your personality. It's a lot easier to be self-critical than it is to find my good points. But sit down with a trusted colleague or fellow student and have an open and honest conversation, and think about, what do I have that's unique? What about in my experience, what in my personality is special, and what do I want to choose to promote? In hospitality sense, if you're looking at the entry-level positions, there are some things that employers are looking at. They want people with passion, they want people with good communication skills, they want people with a high level of cultural awareness to deal with multicultural guests at these big international brands. They want people that present well. So I'd look to focus your brand around those sort of things. That changes as you go up the hierarchy, but for students looking at entry-level positions, those are some pretty important points to start your brand around.
Cool. Next, the last two questions. During the COVID-19, what the effective way to build brand and business recovery faster?
So I think that we need to look at this COVID-19 as an opportunity, right? So it's affected business in a big way, but we need to look at it as an opportunity and think, how do we position ourselves to rebound more quickly? So I think that now is the time not to pull back on our marketing budgets and on our branding, but maybe to push out more. I've seen some really inspiring messages, and I think there's a couple of companies that have done this really well. I've seen some really inspiring messages from Marriott and from Malphur Properties, from the CEOs, talking quite honestly about the situation and the impact to staff and guests. And I think that there's value in being truthful and being transparent and acknowledging the situation. And that's also helping to improve consumer sentiment towards those businesses. So when things do open back up, people will remember that. So I think that there's an opportunity to showcase compassion, to help out those people maybe less fortunate than us at the moment, if you're in a position to do so as an organisation, and that can help reflect your brand and position you as a compassionate, engaged, corporate citizen. So that's a couple of ways that you can look at it.
Wow, few questions kept coming in. Ibu Dewi, let me know on the time. I'm very conscious of the time, but we still do have a few minutes. The next question from Ibu Robiato, does our emotional intelligence will affect our personal branding in order to maintain our social media like Instagram, LinkedIn, and many others?
Yeah, look, emotional intelligence does play a big part in your personal branding and how you brand yourself. And emotional intelligence, people with a high emotional intelligence have a massive advantage. So yes, it does play a part, and it does play a part in how you portray yourself. And that's a really good point, is how we use these different social media channels. What you post on LinkedIn should not be the same as what you post on Facebook. And use your emotional intelligence to understand what's appropriate and what's going to reflect your brand. So let's give an example. We can talk about, you can share an article on LinkedIn about sustainability in the hospitality industry or on ecotourism. So you'd share an article about trends in the industry, things like that. On Facebook, if you went and visited an ecotourism resort, then you could post pictures, and that's sort of reinforcing that this is a topic, an issue that I care about. This is a bit about me and forms part of your brand, but you're posting about different things which are appropriate for different social media channels.
And I think that would also answer a question from Dewi on how do we have to be an expert in something for personal branding? What if the fresh graduate, any suggestion for them how to start with their limited knowledge and experiences?
Sure. So focus on areas that you're interested in for a fresh graduate. We don't have to focus on experience. We can focus on areas that interest you, who you are as a person, your career aspirations. This is the sort of thing that we focus on. So again, one of the biggest things that we want to see, and when I talk to the human resource directors from some of the big hotels globally, one of the things that always comes across that they're looking for in fresh graduates is passion and flexibility. These are things that they can't teach them. So you need to make that a part of your brand proposition, that you are a passionate hospitality professional, and give some examples of areas that you're interested in. It's a very broad industry, right? So you need to give some examples of the specific areas that you're interested in and have that form your brand. And as I mentioned, your brand will develop over time. Your personal brand will develop over time. So you need to keep working on that and keep building that message, but that's a good place to start.
The last question, and excuse the background noise, from Dan Suli. How to preserve our brand with our competitors and how to get customers interest to buy our product?
Well, that's a very big question. There's a few things that we need to talk about in terms of getting customers interested in our products. There's a few different ways that we can approach that. We could do a whole nother seminar on that. The product has to be good, but then the messaging around it, the branding, the way you market it, the channels, these are all important aspects. So that's a pretty big question. But you need to sit down and start and think about who your consumer is, what you want your brand to stand for, how your brand is going to be perceived. As I mentioned, perception is reality. How is your brand going to be perceived by your consumers? And then look to build on it from there. And then look to establish an integrated marketing campaign across multiple channels, set clear objectives for what you see as a measure of success, and start from there. But it's a pretty big project and a pretty big question.
Okay, I think, well, there is another one. What do you think of the branding strategy through a virtual system? Can it bring benefits to the company? And that would be our last questions in a matter of time.
Sure. A virtual system is a great way of branding ourselves at the moment. Simply by having a good virtual system, we show that the brand is associated with technology, with being cutting edge, advanced. So yes, 100%. And particularly at the moment when we can't get consumers to come to our properties, how do we still position ourselves? How do we still market ourselves during this time? And a virtual platform is a great way of doing that. I mean, I've seen, again, we could do another talk on technology in the industry, but there's some really great virtual platforms out there which allow guests to get a slight experience of a property or a resort from the comfort of their own home. So this can be part of the branding, it can be part of the positioning, and it's part of marketing your property, and a great thing to invest in at the moment when people can't travel and when people are looking for a way to experience things. Everybody's going a bit stir crazy because we can't travel. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
All right, thank you so much, Tim. I think we are right on the dot. So a big round of applause for you, Tim, for delivering this. The next session will be delivered by Pak Angkoso Soekadari, who will also be talking about Marketing 101 in a hotel. Pak Angkoso, the mic is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very nervous. Thank you. Kok nggak ada muka gua gimana nih? Oh, I'm already on stage.
You
Yeah, you are already on the stage.
Yeah.
You look very handsome.
Okay, itu gua mana? Translation. Okay, just a second. Udah ini. Atasnya lagi dong. Dari awal kan gua harus mengambil.
Yes, your PowerPoint is on.
This is my good side. My name is Angkoso, Budiarto Soekadari. Been in the business for 36 years, my God. I've studied in the States. I major in I love hotel business for the last, God knows how many years, since I was a little boy. But in the States, I major in business technology, hospitality. I got 3 degrees from the States and 1 degree from Indonesia last year from Trisakti in tourism. So, been asked to do this, Marketing 101. In Marketing 101, I put revival of hotel after the crisis because this is really, this COVID-19, I think it's disrupting the market, it's disruptive marketing. Everyone is affected worldwide, it's pandemic, everyone is affected. And I think we're looking at a different marketing approach in the future for hotels. As we know, Indonesia itself, over 160,000 people are unemployed. More than almost 2,000 hotels are closed. So we're looking at a big time. I'm just going to brush it a little bit about definition of marketing. Everyone knows the definition of marketing. Everyone is talking about marketing. So I'm just going to brush, because I'm 101, I'm just saying, hey, what's marketing? Marketing for me is just, for the last 36 years in the hotel, doing marketing and doing operation. Marketing is about giving value to the customer so they can talk and come back. And you can, even now, in the olden days, you don't have social media. Everyone writes in the social media how good we are, how bad we are. Everything is word of mouth. And I think for everyone, marketing is the #1 process for any company, especially hotel. One bad news from a guest, it will destroy you for many months. So marketing is about yourself. It's about making the guests happy. It's about sustaining the service. It's about Then we talk about 9P. I mean, 9P, there was 6P in marketing, there's a 7P in marketing, there was 8P. But this time I'm gonna put another one, 1P, one extra P. Namanya physical distancing. Unfortunately, it started with P also. I said physical distancing will be the future of the hotel. According to CNN this morning or BBC, this pandemic or coronavirus or COVID-19 is going to last between 2 to 3 years. We're going to suffer this for another 2 to 3 years. It's going to be there in our life. Are we going to go against? Are we going to accept, embrace this conflict for another 2 years? Are we going to be still employed? Are we not going to be employed? Are we jobless? Is there still a market after the conflict? We don't know. Let's see. I'm going to say, what is a market disruption? Market disruption. Because of this conflict, every market is disrupted. You name any business that is not affected by this, from transportation, hotel, airlines, travel agent, countries that is relying on tourism. It's horrible. I mean, this morning only, the borders in Europe are starting to open because summer is coming. When they're like France, one of their revenues coming from tourism. Italy, Spain, it's coming. They have to open the border if business goes down. If the business is going down, the market is there, but they have to be more cautious. So they're opening the borders in Europe. That's what I seen on television this morning. I mean, the customer purchase intention or the customer what they want to buy. What do customer want before they buy? I think the customer is going to look for this. Are we reliable? Are we responsive to the product? Do we have assurance of the product? Is the product communicating with us? Is the project tangible? Is there a sales? Is there a after-sales service? Are we handling the complaint right? And lastly, with this pandemic, safety and security. Are we taking care of the guests? Do we have enough our staff using masks? Do we have disinfected this lotion, hand sanitizer? Are we readily accessible to the hospital? Are we close to are we far from the hospital? Our company, Ra Hospitality, our hotels are all in the south of Jakarta. When this PSBB, when we have this PSBB, which is a semi-lockdown, Jakarta Selatan is still busy. Sometimes we're afraid of going out, but the roads are full of cars. I mean, it's like we're not going through any PSBB here. If you look at the airport this morning, my God, you don't feel. Another point of me after this conflict is people will start saving their money and not spending a lot of money in advertising. So you have to maximize your web, your e-commerce, maximize your e-commerce, social media, your Instagram, your Facebook, and very, very, very much on online channels. My conclusion is on this topic is we have to review our meeting behavior. Hotel income is on room and food and beverage. Food and beverage is connected to your MICE, your meeting. You have to consider that now people are going to be less going to hotel with big meeting. In the past, we have meeting for 200, we have a meeting for 300, 400. I think after this pandemic, you have to evaluate yourself. Are we going to allow 200, 300, 500 meeting? Are we going to have wedding for 1,000? You need to, are we ready for wedding to another wedding? As I know from the television this morning, CNN, the virus is going to stay for 2-3 years. The vaccine is not being developed now. The vaccine is going to be ready next year, predicted next year. Some countries have lost, great loss. We are a bit more fortunate, even we are not disciplined enough to contain the virus. People will review traveling behavior. By reviewing traveling behavior, hotels will have great impact, very great impact. People do not travel so much anymore after this. So you're looking at, if you're now closing the hotel, we are very fortunate where our company is not closed yet, full team, even though we closed 6th floor, but we're still open. But people will travel less. Only people with business will travel. People will see the cities or the country that is safe to travel. Not every city is going to be safe or will be busy again as before. Can we offer a more flexible work environment when we are not, this is not only for the guests, but also the staff. Is the staff going to work safely? Is the guest going to have a meeting safely? Can we have a more flexible hour? Can we have the meeting so that it's not busy in the morning or afternoon? Can we have the meeting at night? You know, maybe the meeting will be at 2 o'clock in the morning. We have to consider all alternative market. Assessing the purchase intention and pricing. Pricing will be very, very important because when you don't have the correct pricing and you don't have the right market and you don't get the purchase intention, are the millennial going to come back to our hotel? Is our hotel only for a certain market? There's a great market change. We have to consider all the packages. Is Lebaran package going to be good this year? Is New Year's Eve going to be there? Because everyone is going to think safety first. That's all. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Angkoso. Just to conclude.
By the way, Ibu.
Say it again, sorry.
It's not Soekadari, but Soekadari. Soekadari.
Soekadari, yeah.
Yes, just
Thank
remember.
you, Pak.
Suka Bidadari. Soekadari. Yeah.
That's an easy way to remember.
Yes, everyone remember that, please.
Thank you. So just in conclusion, marketing is very important to pass on our brand, right? And then maximizing our online branding in this pandemic era is important. Branding virtually is very important. And as a conclusion in the hotel, in marketing 101 marketing in hotel, we need to review the meeting behavior. And then we need to review the traveling behavior, offer a more flexible environment for staff as well as for the guests. And pricing is very important to be considered. And also we need to think whether packages offered to customers are good. I mean, whether it works in this time of pandemic or not, right? Next is the question and answer session. For Pak Angkoso, there is one question at the moment. Can social media be maximized as a tool to book a room so that the hotel does not only depend on OTA? If yes, how much does the social media used by the hotel have an impact on sales? That's from Pak Trijoko.
My God, Pak Tri, how are you? I know you for a long time now. Social media is very good. I mean, but you cannot compare social media and OTA. I mean, social media has a limit, is limited. OTA has a bigger market. I mean, it's worldwide. Your social media is limited to your friends and your colleague and friends of friends, you know. But when you talk about OTA, you talk about booking.com, not mentioning the big four or the big five, they have millions of customers. Where social media is only looking at Instagram. I mean, our reservation may be less than 3% are from our advertising social media. Whereas from your OTA, I have about 35% to 40% OTA market. Of course, it's not that high anymore, but social media is important, but not as your reservation tools, but it's more to your branding tools. That's it. Any question? Goyang.
Any other questions for Pak Angkoso, please?
Nggak ada. Pulang yuk.
How to make our customer engaged when we do a marketing for the
Again, sorry?
Philippines? How to make our customer engaged when we do a marketing for the first time?
I have worked in many chain. I think engaging for the first time, if you open the first hotel or you're actually opening a hotel, if that's what you mean, opening hotel. The biggest challenge is your brand. If you don't have any brand, you will have a hard time. If you have a brand, if your hotel has a brand, it's easier. If you don't have a brand, I opened many hotels. I don't want to mention the name of the hotels, but it's I was a country head for a hotel chain. And we did not have many hotels. We have only 7 hotels, and we kept opening. When I joined the company, we had only 2 hotels. Then I opened 5 hotels. What we did, because we were not popular yet that time in Indonesia, we have in Indonesia there's umbul-umbul. What's umbul-umbul in English? Umbul-umbul is a banner, a sliding banner, you know. And we put a price for every opening of our hotel, 100,000. 100,000 per night. And every day for 2 weeks we have a promotion of 100,000. And it's a very nice hotel. It's clean, and you will know this hotel. It's in 7 cities in Indonesia. It's full every single day for 2 weeks because we're selling 100,000. In any city, Jakarta 100,000, Bekasi 100,000, Solo 100,000, Semarang Surabaya 100,000. For every city that we open, we start with 100,000 for 2 weeks to get the brand in the market.
Okay, just a comment from Pak Heru Wibowo about OLTA. OLTA is more specific market, while social media is for multi-market or not very specific market. That's one comment from
my teacher. Pak Heru is my teacher, so I respect that comment.
Thank you, Pak Heru, for the comment.
Guru Heru.
Any other questions?
My presentation is clear. No one is asking questions. Thank you.
One question from PMB. If the government didn't open the airport, how can we get a guest in the hotel industry?
Very good question. I think if the government they don't open the airport, they will not open the railway, they will not open the bus, they will not open the border. They close the city. If they close the city, you only have the local market, if it's possible. That is why we have Almost 2,000 hotel closed. Why? Cannot afford to open the hotel because the operation cost is very high. If you cannot reach above 35% to 40%, I think any hotel will lose money, they'll close. Or second option, they will open but only half the employee, half the operation. And still they will lose money again. The reason why they're still open because they don't want the brand to fall down, they open the hotel as a brand image. You close the hotel, the brand is gonna suffer a little bit, you know. But the owner will suffer from the pocket. The pocket is gonna be empty if you open at 10% or 7%. So without the airport, no business. No business at all.
Wow, let's hope that this pandemic will go away very soon then.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, if there is no further questions from the floor. Oh, one more question from Ibu Donna. What about promotions in the virtual system? I have a virtual roadshow for a tourism event.
You mean to tell me you're going to promote through virtual? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what about promotions in the virtual system? Ibu Donna has a virtual roadshow for a tourism event.
I think that's not a bad idea. I've never tried it. Thank you, Ibu Donna. That's a great idea. I've never tried it and I wish I could. Can you show it to me? I'd love to see it. For me, any promotion that is going to cost less money at the moment, because this pandemic is draining everyone's cash flow. If you have any means of advertising and telling the public on your product, and it's going to cost less money than advertising in this LED or in the newspaper or in the billboard, let's do it. I mean, I love to see that concept. Thank you.
Yes, it's free according to Ibu Donna. Yeah. And then Ibu Amelia also has a comment on domestic tourists could be the next potential market.
Agree. Top agree. Very agree.
Okay. Thank you, Tim and Pa Angkoso. I think we have reached the end of the session. If there is no other questions, I think it's a very realistic approach to create our online personal branding for students, as well as how to market hotel in this pandemic era. So once again, I'm representing the AECC Global Indonesia. Would like to thank the hotel school team as well as the Sekolah Tinggi Pariwisata Trisakti team to have this collaboration workshop session today. And I'm looking forward to be able to arrange different topic on a different workshop in the coming months. So I wish you a happy fasting for those who are fasting, and stay safe and stay healthy at home.
Okay, Tim, Rudling, thank you.
Okay, before we close, I think we have to take picture. Please show your picture. And
Tim, please accept me in your LinkedIn, yeah? I just add you.
Definitely.
Bu
Sorry.
Dewi bisa ambil foto?
Silakan.
Ya, coba ya.
Udah pas belum?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, 1, One moment. Ini ada banyak ya.
Masak.
2, 3, hold on. Yep. 4. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for your attention for this webinar. For information, for certificate, I will inform you by email, and our committee will inform you as soon as possible. Thank you, team, Mr. Tim, and Pak Angkoso, Pak Sky, for your time.
Sky. Thank you, Pak Agus.
Ya, Pak.
Let's have lunch.
Ya, nanti semua materinya nanti akan dikirim ya.
Ya.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I like
Semuanya,
your
terima
material.
kasih.
I like you, Tim. That was a good one. That was a good man.
Thank you. Good listen to us as well. It's very good.
Angkoso.
Chứ vừa lại theo anh hồi sự. Cái dalam dan ujungnya.